BC, what's going on, man?
Hey, at it again, my friend.
That's
At it
it.
again.
That's it. I like the consistency. It's providing a structure to my week that
Yes.
I like. I need. I crave just that. Just kind of regularity. Whether it's with wrestling or family or anything. Just that I know this is coming up, so it keeps me on point and keeps me moving
Yeah.
forward.
And putting something on the schedule, right? There's not
Yeah.
much to put on the schedule right now. I'm
No.
coming up with stuff to put on the schedule, but get my workouts in, and then I look forward to this Thursday or this Wednesday as well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That's why I started a running program for the first time ever. Like I talked a little bit about it, but I actually have like a program done, like just the Nike Run app. Like it's pretty legit. Like, and all their
right.
stuff, all their premium like content is completely free right now. So I'm taking advantage of it, and like, so they together a little program. You can kind of pick and choose how much you want to do, and I'm just following it. So that's my other bit of structure going on.
That's good stuff, man. I've always wanted to do a marathon, but then I realized that stuff hurts. That that running stuff hurts. I'm
Yeah.
not been a big runner. I like to sprint. I don't like to run. And there's all this evidence coming now. I see it's therapeutic for you. You're a aerobic guy.
Yeah.
You and your wife both love to get after it. There's all this research now that running is actually not counterproductive to wrestling. You really think about wrestling, it's way more anaerobic than it is aerobic. We do need the endurance. I think that's kind of an old school wrestling mentality to run, 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 run. And you do get mental toughness running. I think there's other ways to get mental toughness. Um, I've been struggling with this, talking about programs, right? Like, if you want to, like, you take the running out, right? Or you don't get really tired after a workout. So I'm lifting with the kids and we're doing some lifting, and I'm getting like anxious because they're leaving the workout and they're not exhausted.
Yeah.
Right? They're not exhausted. I'm like, did we do enough? I don't know if that was hard enough today. We could have done a lot more. And with all these books I'm reading and all this research I'm reading and the stuff I'm looking at is all about, 3 to 5 reps. If you want, and Danny Struck, good buddy of mine,
Yeah.
Indiana coach. You know Danny?
Yeah, he was at the Silver College when I was there, so I don't know him like real personally, but I've had a few interactions with him, and I follow him on like Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that.
He goes to Silver College every year, so you can't miss Danny at the Silver College.
There you
But
go.
he said, if you want to run a marathon, you want to get tired, run a marathon, right? We're here to get strong, and I really like that, and it's actually given me, helped me accept the workouts, and like it's not always like beat yourself up. And I think the running, it kind of goes back to that old school Gable, run, outwork everybody. What do you think?
No, yeah, that's exactly what I'm having a problem with, right? Not a problem with, but I'm working through it because like for the running, like right now for me, I have this mentality of just like go and just run as hard as I can until it's done. Like, how if I'm running 2.5 miles today, I want to run it as hard as possible. But with a program, like it's telling you like, have this pace, so run at an 8:30 mile pace. That's slow for me. Like I have to really be focused to bring it back to that, and just being able to pace myself out and do that, because I'm the same way. Like you're talking about is if I'm not like sore or walking out of the workout like beat up and drenched in sweat, I'm like, that was okay. Like I was there, but did I do enough?
Go ahead, finish.
But like as I you read more about it, like you said, like muscle building in particular, like you don't want to be so sore the next day that you can't keep going, right? Like the consistency over time is what's going to build your body, your explosiveness, your muscles, like all these things. And that's what really is beneficial to your body. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, your goals are different too, right? Because you're a dad now, and you're late. How old are you now?
30.
30, right? 30. Superman was 30, right? So you're 30 now, right? Your goals are different than when you were competing.
Yeah.
And when you're competing for wrestling, the training is different. I was reading about metabolism, and this, I know a lot about metabolism, but this analogy I think helps me teach it better. So if you think of your energy systems, right? So the ATP, which is the, the 6 second burst, the clean, the the double leg, the box jump, boom, it's gone. The football play, and it's gone. It's spent. That's the glucose in your muscles. ATP uses the glucose in your muscles. That's the explosive power. Well, that's like a big, if you think of them like vats, right, or pools, or like canisters of energy. So that's the ATP canister, right? It's got a big old opening. It's gonna flush energy into your system really fast, really hard, really forceful power. Well, that's also going to get depleted really quickly. Then your body goes to the next pot of energy, and that would be your ATP and your creatine. And that's when the creatine comes in, and it's a little bit smaller pot, and the valve is a little bit smaller. It's still pretty powerful. It's not as powerful as ATP on its own, right? Then the third one is the lactate, and that's when your body resynthesizes a lactic acid and uses it for energy. And that's where we are in wrestling a lot, right? Where that burn in your muscle, that lactate training, where you're riding and you're squeezing. And then the last pot is that really kind of low power energy. It's a steady stream. That's the oxygen. That's the aerobic capacity. And it's the smallest one. It's the least powerful. It's got the smallest valve, but it gives a steadier stream of low power energy, right? Well, we never get to that fourth tank. We really only are in the first, second, and third tank, right? And right now, like in this Corona time, we're trying to take and fill up that first tank as big as possible, and try to get as much neurological power and as much ATP power strength, that explosive energy, that double leg, that hard athletic movement, and really focusing there and doing almost nothing in the fourth pot, and even very little in the lactate right now, because we're not training for anything right now, right? We're training for when we get back.
Right.
There's no tournament on the schedule right now, So I personally, I think that lactate training is like practice.
Yeah.
That's you do that in practice, like when you're wrestling in practice, or you do burnouts or endless rope or some sort of conditioning at the end of practice. That's not that first pot of energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, it's a good way to just break it down. Just understanding the energy systems is important. Like when you're training, like when I was training, I had no idea. I was just like, whatever. Tell me what to do. I'm gonna do it. But yeah, just understanding like just the different ways that you train and the different systems that they're affecting is important, right? Like talk about like, the old school training ways where you just run in brick walls, like it didn't matter. And, who knows, like you look at guys like Kyle Dake and David Taylor who are working with, the top of the, maybe, I don't know, it depends on, I guess, your skew on things, but they're getting very scientific about the way that they train and the way that they've done things over the last, couple years. And, I guess the book's not written all the way yet to see how it pays off, but I mean, they're both, world champs in their own right. And they're,
I think we know a lot more now than we used to know. And the more, I wish I knew this stuff when I was training, because it gives you a better focus. Like you're training more effectively. That this is work. I think I knew intuitively, when I was squatting and power cleaning and doing lunges and stuff like that, but my sets probably would have been different. My intensity, I probably would have tried to move the bar faster. I would have understood that stuff deeper. And I think it would have made my practices better and my training better.
One thing that you told me when I was a freshman, and I carried this on, and I've kind of relayed this message too, is just to lift while you cut weight and lift all season long. And it doesn't look the same all the time, but continue to lift heavy, whether it's,
yes,
we had those like kind of specific workouts that we would do where, we're just lifting heavy and lifting, trying to just maintain that strength during the season. Cause I think a lot of, kids,
those were so much fun.
Yeah. But people miss out on that and they stop lifting during season cause they're so focused on, shredding down or whatever. And
now as I continue to improve on that system with learning more, I would do it a little bit differently, where I would have us doing, we'd be doing even higher weights. We do higher weights.
Yeah.
But when it gets heavy, I worked out with Braylon today. He's like, oh, we were doing fives. And he's like, oh, I think this is going to be too heavy. Like, okay, then just do two.
Yeah.
Do two. And then we'll do another set of two, and we'd have been lifting more like that to keep your brain turned on to lift those heavy weights. It's like think about this. If you ever like been moving somebody and you go and you pick up a big heavy box and you carry it out to the truck, right? And then you come back and you look at another box and you think it's going to be heavy, but it's full of pillows, and you jack that thing up through the ceiling. Like, now your brain's turned on to go to lift hard, and you do that with the training, right? So like heavy farmer walks at the beginning of the workout. It could be whether you're going to wrestle or whether you're going to lift. Like, do something heavy, and some heavy farmer walks will now turns on your neurological system, and then everything else after that feels like, oh yeah, doesn't feel that heavy,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Get that everything fired, everything turning on, and everything moving, turning over. Just knowing that, like, oh yeah, time my capacity is all, I don't have to work up to it. I'm ready.
Yes. And then the whole workout's better. It's kind of like you throw some live in at the beginning of practice.
Yeah.
You throw a little live in, and then you go back to drilling,
mm-hmm.
whatever you're going to work on. But there's a little live just to set the pace for the practice, start to turn on the competitiveness and everything else. Okay, so let's get to these questions before we get too long-winded here. And so we're kind of finishing with ask a better question, and then we're going to move. Really, this is going to be more about mental toughness today, right? And talk a little bit, give the people some chores or some homework. Here's what you can do now to work on mental toughness. But we did want to finish the questions, because I think we got a couple good ones here. First one I got for you is, what is the biggest waste of time that coaches make when training their kids?
So, I mean, this is kind of an easy transition, right, from what we were just talking about. I think the running and the super, super hardcore, like old school style of practices, and not, really spending time. And we've talked about this, a couple of times, is, I love the technical side of wrestling, and I love, working to like get these skills dialed in. And that's how I want my athletes to be, because I see the more technical that they are, the more focused and dialed in they are on being very, very on point with their skills. I see it carry over. And I just think that people skip that because maybe, they aren't as technical, or maybe they don't, spend the time to learn everything that.
So you're saying that they're replacing teaching skills with running,
with hard, and just hard things, and maybe not necessarily running, but just drilling really hard all the time, instead of taking a step back and focusing on being very technical and getting everything you can out of a session. Versus,
let me ask you this. How many coaches have you seen that are like super skills focused every day? Like, they come in to teach skills every day. Is that the norm? Is that the exception?
I would say that's an exception in my experience. And overall, it would be an exception. And then the more that I see as coaches that come in just with that mentality, like, I'm gonna break some kids today, or we're gonna get tougher today, and right. I think we're gonna spin off into some other things later about mental toughness and how to gain that. And yes, I think there is some value in being put through some tough practices and being put through some hard sprint workouts and things like that, but I don't believe that should be your main focus of your allotted time to practice, right? Especially as you're a developing athletes, when they're younger, like, in that really early developmental age, you see coaches in there just, running these young athletes through super tough practices. And it's valuable to get them, that trial by fire and kind of see, like, weed out some of them. But I think if you stay technical and you teach them that, that's going to grow into something that, you can really then turn up the heat and get them, because they're already going to be bought in. They're already going to,
For
love
sure. Here's the deal is you're absolutely right. I think it depends on the age level, right? And yeah, there's going to be some benefits to hammering those kids and turning them into little hammers when they're elementary school. But here's the thing: you don't have to. You can still catch those kids. You can still, for the most part, maybe not all of them, not the David Taylors of the world.
Sure.
But I mean, he's a half of a 1%, right? But for most of those kids, if you do some serious focus training once you get to middle school and 8th grade, you can actually catch some of those kids, a lot of them. Okay, middle school, it's got to kind of start middle 6th, 7th, 8th. But if you want to catch those top kids, but for the most part, a lot of those kids either don't make it or you can catch them. But here's the other thing, though, too. We can't lie. Wrestling's hard. It's going to be hard. It's hard. I mean, that's the way it is. I'm sorry. It's hard. And we can make it as enjoyable as possible, but there's going to be some parts of it that is hard. And you have to start to like the hard. That's the key. That's the real magic pill, is convincing them that hard is good and that hard is fun. And fighting is not always fun. And even when you love wrestling, practice isn't always fun. So and I want to get to that with the middle toughness part. Let me ask this other question. What do you think is the biggest mistake? I was going to say, though, too, that I think the biggest mistake coaches make is they waste too much time on the warm-up.
Yeah, I agree with that so much. Like,
way too long.
Like
it's half over. We just got to warm it up.
Like running, and specifically like running laps and doing butt kickers and karaoke.
Laying down stretching. 10 minutes of laying down stretching. Unless you have a very skill-based warm-up too, even then that should get shorter and shorter as the season goes on, as the novice kids start to figure out what they're doing. And that's hopefully designed to teach the novice kids what to do, right? The warm-up is teaching the skills that are going to be required in daily practice. This is the stuff we're going to do. So that should be part of the warm-up. But taking this half an hour to warm up is just way too long.
Yeah. You have an hour and a half with these kids, and you spend, too much time warm. Yeah, I'm 100. Like,
or it extends practice to 3 hours, and you got them in there for 3 hours, and that's too long.
Yeah.
That's too long for a regular high school practice. At any rate, number 2 here. What do you think is the biggest mistake when teaching shooting? What are coaches? What's the biggest mistake novice kids make, and the biggest mistake coaches, or maybe the biggest thing coaches neglect when teaching kids how to shoot leg attacks?
So to shoot, I mean, I think you see, especially when I was in the Midwest, everybody's taking outside steps, and I'm a big fan of outside step, but there was very few kids that could level change and penetrate and blow somebody up, or really just dart to a single leg and get there from point A to point B really fast. Like when we're using outside steps, you rely on having pressure, and you rely on somebody pushing on you. So when you're down by one with 20, 30 seconds left, or a minute, whatever it is, and you got to go get one, guess what? Like they're going away from you, so you got to go get it. So you have to own an inside step penetration, or you got to own that quick fire where you can just level change and go.
That I believe the exact same thing about that, because I think we've talked about that. Maybe your philosophy about that has kind of come from hanging around my philosophy.
Yeah.
But I do think the outside step is getting so good, and people like Chamizo and a lot of the Europeans, where they can actually penetrate and go forward with an outside step and go to it. And
Pico is really good with that too.
Yeah, he still kind of just would step. His was like kind of muscling through it and a little bit choppy, because he's not a volume shooter by any means. He's not a volume shooter. He's not a leg attack guy. I think I saw him win the Junior Worlds. I don't think he took a shot the whole tournament. So that's not his
Right.
his thing. But okay, so you were saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your point.
So I think that just is something that, because I think it is inherently easier to teach an outside step to a kid that doesn't really know
Mm,
how to shoot that well, where you can just take from a square stance, step, and you're
right.
in, and put your knee down. Like that's easy. But to
Hmm.
get a kid comfortable, extending their body, going and firing off, and being able to get their hips back under them and come up through, or however, I think that's to spend some time there. I think there's some value, and then I really think that past shooting is spending a lot more time on your knees, learning how to change knees, to get your head out, knee slide, and just finishing leg attacks when it gets tough, when it gets hard.
Right.
I think spending more time there.
Like we talked about before, doing the actual wrestling part of it.
Yeah.
Got in, now that's when he's trying to stop you.
Mhm.
Right. He's trying to stop. Yeah, I think just to add to that, it's hard to shoot. Shooting's hard. It's why a lot of kids, a lot of coaches don't teach shooting well. There's some coaches that teach shooting extremely well. And those coaches teach have phenomenal shots, and they usually are awesome leg attack people. But for the most part, I'd say 75% of coaches and teachers of wrestling out there don't teach shooting well, and therefore kids don't have a ton of confidence, especially at the lower levels of wrestling with shooting. Right? Once you get, I have this whole thing about like the middle class is dying, right? And that's like a general statement for America, but also for wrestling. Like the middle class of wrestling is dying. You kind of have these top echelon, those elite kids that are making teams, and then you got the kids that are, the state champion type kids that are qualifying for Fargo and not placing but going to the tournament. Then you got a whole bunch of kids in between that are on, there's a big chasm after that. And most of the wrestlers are down there at the bottom. And so, they're at the bottom because they don't have great leg attack skills for the most part in folk style and freestyle wrestling. So.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. There's that, yeah, there's levels to it, and there's the elite, and then everybody else pretty much,
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we gotta, I think as wrestling people, we have to work hard to keep obviously people in the sport and to grow the bottom, feed the bottom, and to keep a middle class of wrestlers, which is where, I realize kind of, my niche in wrestling coaching is it's not for the super duper elite kids, although I think I can help those people too. And I really have a lot of fun coaching on that level, but it's really for your everyday dad that's trying to develop his kid, for your high school coach that's trying to teach his kids how to shoot, even for really experienced coaches that want a new spin or want new ideas. And, I learned from so many people's stuff that you would, I know it, but to hear the way this person said it, or this drill, or this skill, it really adds, enriches my coaching. And then you can pull off of that stuff and help kids, help kids on the spot, like real-time coaching, right? Like I can right here make you better right here in this second,
Yeah.
So.
No, yeah, and I like that. Just, yeah, being able to pull from different sources, right? Like, and being able to, like you said, teach in the moment, because like unfortunately, like we're not going to have, a line of kids that does everything just like, so being able to, okay, Johnny, he's better in this situation, or somebody's attacking him with this. And if you do your studying and you ask the right questions to other coaches, you'll have an answer right then. And just being prepared, is just the way that we have to be, as and I feel, like I kind of fit in that niche that you're saying too. Like I genuinely, I like teaching, as much as possible to as many people as possible, and just sharing and riffing and getting, and learning myself. There's a selfishness to it as well, because at the same time, as much as I can give, I get as much back from, the athletes and the students and other coaches. So, it's kind
Absolutely.
of a
Well,
win-win.
thinking about developing kids, it's almost sometimes better when they know nothing, because then you can mold them and say, wrestle like this.
Yeah.
This side you wrestle. And then, it's almost like they don't know anything else about wrestling than what you told them.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, they don't have any bad habits either, right? And you're creating the habits for them. And I don't know if you remember Seth Goyle.
Yeah.
I mean, he was great to coach when he wasn't doing when he was making weight. He was great to coach. Just a little dig on Seth. No, Seth was awesome. Loved coaching Seth, and he was super skilled. He knew nothing about the sport, so everything I taught him was like, that was it. That's how you do it, and made it really a lot of fun. And then when you're developing your own child, you get to hopefully your boy, you're gonna have a blast with that. So
Yeah.
okay, let's get to what was the last question? You got one for me, right?
Yeah. So question for you is it was what instructional videos or materials that maybe that you've used, maybe, and this could be maybe twofold, instructional things that you've used to help yourself learn, and then that maybe you use to teach or maybe give to your athletes.
Okay, so I can think of 1,000 things, and I was very inspired as a kid. I was the type of kid, if I saw a karate movie, I was signing up for karate the next day. Hey, I was going to be a ninja the next day.
Hey.
So that's a real story. That's a true story. I saw some Karate Kid, boy. I was karate. I saw Back to the Future. I was on a skateboard the next day. It was like I was easily inspired. Okay, so but the Gable movie. I don't know if we were just talking about this. I know I was talking to.
Yeah, I just watched it.
You watched my link?
Yeah, you sent it to me.
Yes. Hey, that's copyright. So don't you share that.
No.
So anyway, that's a great movie. That movie changed the game. And when I posted just a little clip of it to see Dane Valdez, who's a coach in California, and we're contemporaries, and he wrote something on there about how much it meant to him and how it was a game changer. I'm like, man, this guy across the country had the exact same effect at the exact same time it did on him as it did on me. I can't imagine how many other people just like love that movie, right? The Gable Competitor Supreme. So that was one. But this is really the thing that changed my career. This book, Mental Toughness Training for Sports by Jim Lear. And you see it's all beat up. It's like I've had this since 1993. My mother wrote the inscription to it, okay? And really changed I call it my sports Bible, right? My sports Bible. Gable has a book that he calls his sports Bible. And it's by another old-time author. That's a different generation than us. But this book really changed the game. There's actually a newer version of it. I have both of them, right? And amazing. I learned so much. It really is the source of all my success as a wrestler. It's worth its weight in gold.
Now, did that inspire you then to take the route of really investing your time in sports psych and
Yes.
going that route? Is that kind of
absolutely, because I saw how it worked. It was like crazy how it worked. It was the first time in my life. So I'd got this book as a junior in high school, and I had taken fifth. Actually, I got it before my junior year in high school, right? So right before I got hurt playing football, and I had shoulder surgery. My mother got me the book. I read it when I was in the hospital. And literally the first book I ever read by choice on my own without being assigned to me. I read it cover to cover. I said, how does this book know so much about me? It was like a really life-changing experience for me. And I just became obsessed with this book, and I read it, and I did all the little silly assignments in there. And, these books have all these little mental, write this down and do this and visualize like this. And I did them all. Every single one of them. And then I'd get little jobs in the off season. I took these all the way through college with me, and I'd take these books and I'd read them at my job. You ever heard of telemarketing?
Yeah.
You should be a telemarketer, right? And so I would read these books, and I'd be doing the assignments, and I'd get a call, And then I just be like, yeah. And I just release them, release, and go back to studying. You're released.
Very good.
Oh man. And I was killing two birds with one stone. I was making money and I was studying, and it really made a huge difference. And yeah, I got my master's degree in sports psychology because of just wanting to teach it to others, realizing the impact, and it's awesome.
How insightful of your mom though to know that, like, you're down, you're hurt, you're probably like pretty sad, like pretty bummed, like, oh, what is this gonna do, like, for my, my career, my situation, like the things that I love to do are taken away from me. And
There's
then
even a chapter in there on dealing with injury, you know?
and she comes in and boom, I got the answer. That's amazing.
Yeah, she's brilliant. She is my mother is a savant. You know, she's a news lady. She's a professor at the University of Lincoln right now in broadcast journalism, but really the best coach I ever had, because my mother first, my father said this too about her. She's the type of person that could take a goal and turn it into reality. She said, and my father was amazed by her. Not to go into my parents for a second, but my dad was like, my mother was a school teacher, and then she was on the radio. And then one day she came home and told my dad, she said, I want to be on TV. And he was like, yeah, right. What are you talking about? You better go back to school and keep that pension and keep that paycheck from the schoolhouse. And she said, no, I want to be on TV. And she did it. And she got herself on TV, and she became an anchor woman for 25 years. And so she kind of gave me that gift, and she couldn't give it to me because I wouldn't take it. So she gave it to me through this book. And okay, I'll take it from the book.
Yeah.
But she taught me without teaching me directly, and she taught me directly too. But winning a state title my senior year in high school was the first time I ever said, this is what I'm going to do. And then I did it. And it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's like this is magic. It's like magic.
Yeah.
You work really hard at something, you write it down, you do the things in this book. And so, okay, so that leads me to the next thing I want to talk about. And I want to get your input on this. And basically this is what we're talking about today. It's like, what 3 things can you do right now, kind of like what I was just talking about, what I did in school, to mentally train yourself for when we get back. Okay. And this is the best time to do it. Really, it should be a never-ending process. And I think sometimes you think you got it and you don't focus on it, or, it's just like any skill. If you don't use it, grass grows over it.
Yeah.
It's not sharp anymore. You have to keep the path smooth. And so whether it's goal setting, whether it's visualization, whether it's your focused breathing, all that stuff that goes into really just getting arousal control of your body so you can go fight your best, right? So give me one thing you can do right now.
One thing you can do right now, writing down your goals every day, right? Like we talked about Coit Cooper's book last week, and this is something that he's really big on, and there's a lot of people that are really big on it, but having, your goals, whatever they are. And so the way that he likes to write them, and the way that I used to write them every single day was you write them as if they're already happening, as if they've already happened. So
it.
Not like I want to be a state champion. It's on March 31st, I am a state champion at 145, whatever it is. And so you write, you have your list of goals, say like 5 goals, and you write them down. And then from that, you write down action items every single day that you can, so your big goals, right? Those are the dreams, the goals. That's the focal point of the whole thing. But the system to get there are your daily actions. So you write down your 10 things that you can do today. And it might be a little thing, right? It might be, watch a 5-minute video or read 10 minutes in my book. But you have those 10 things, and you physically clear them off at the end of the day. Like, okay, I got 4 out of 10 done. Like, that's probably not going to get me to where I want to be.
For each goal, you have basically a to-do list for that goal.
Yeah. Action items
so almost like you're writing a paper and you're organizing your paper. Here's my heading, here's my subheadings.
Yeah. So,
I dig it.
so, and this might not be, yeah. So here's just one of my journals that I just have around the house, and it's just so I'll just kind of read off what it, and it's just from my reading on this day. I was reading about having a blessed bank, and so your bank is what you hold within you. That's what it was talking about in the book. And so I just wrote down 3 things that were in my blessed bank: my family, my passion to help other, so things like that. And then from there I wrote my values. And this is another thing that Coit's really big on, is having your core values. And they can be relatively flexible, but it's just 3-4 things that define who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so finding that might take a little time, and some research on exactly what you want to be. But no, I think having core values, writing down your goals every day, writing down action items, and then just journaling in general. Just read something and then write exactly what it made you feel. And it's just it's a clarifying thing that it's easy, and you can do it. It takes 20 minutes total all together.
Love it. I think anytime that you're putting your pen to paper, when it pertains to your goals, you're moving towards your goals, right? So literally the action of writing it down starts the process of the goal happening. There's a great book. It's called Write It Down, Make It Happen. Talks about exactly that. And it's one of those books, you don't even have to read the whole book. You read the first 3 or 4 chapters, you kind of got it, and it's like the first 3 or 4 chapters are amazing, and you kind of get it all in those 3 chapters. But I know you've done this too, where you will write something on a Post-it note, okay? Yeah. And then you lose it. And then you find the Post-it note and you actually did what was on the Post-it note.
Yeah.
And it got done. Somehow it got done.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't have the Post-it note anymore, but you wrote it down. And that happens to me all the time. Yeah. Let me tell you kind of my thing is, there's all kind of stuff we could talk about, but what we talked about earlier with keeping wrestling fun and stuff like that is so important. Once you get, I guess, excited about winning and excited about how that's going to make you feel and excited about performing and being a champion and the attention and excitement you're going to have and the way that feels, then you have the motivation and the energy to work and do the hard stuff. Then the hard stuff doesn't seem so hard because it's for a reason. I'm not breaking my back for nothing. I'm breaking my back for a reason.
Yeah.
It's an important reason. And it's an eternal reason that I'm breaking my neck like this. Because I want something, I want it so bad. And once you kind of and then that's hard. And that's kind of something that separates, like, you can't give that to people, Yeah. You can kind of lead them to it, whether it's your son, whether it's your team, whether it's your coworker. You can't give them being on fire, right? Which is kind of like when I was coaching at San Francisco State, I just gravitated to the guys that were on fire and coached them up, It was like, oh, well, who's on fire about wrestling here and who can actually do it? Who I like being around. Okay, I'm gonna coach them. Yeah. And it actually made it relatively is easier than you think when you find somebody that's on fire about it. But it's getting them on fire and we still have to keep you on fire though too, right? And that's what coaches do when sometimes you can't keep yourself on fire. Coaches keep you on fire. So back to my whole point is about loving it. You got to love it. And when you can go into the weight room at 10 o'clock at night and it's your second or third workout for the day and you go, I love it, man. I love it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get in. I love it. And I'm going to go, or there's, hey, one more takedown today. And you got to wrestle that SOB that's super hard to take down and you're dead tired. It's the end of practice and he's tough as shit. And hey, I love it. Let's go get another one. Hey, I got to get one. I love it. Okay. And there's this great story, and I kind of want to like kind of bring some closure to it with this story. And this is, so you know Luke Santos.
Yes.
Okay. So Luke Santos, to set it up, was an All-American for San Francisco State. When I got to San Francisco State my first year from Nebraska, he was the Pied Piper of the team. He wasn't an All-American yet. You know, I think he was maybe 500 the year before. And but a lot of talent, a lot of ability. And he had some leadership ability like I've rarely seen before. He was the Pied Piper of the team, man. Whatever Luke said, these guys would follow, okay? And so yeah, just tremendous leader. He's a Pied Piper. And Luke, we're wrestling one day and we're training him, and Lars and I have him running sprints at the end of practice, running sprints. And it was my first year there. It was fairly, you know, fairly new to the program. And these guys are crying during the sprints. Like, they're literally crying. And like Luke is crying during sprints. I'm like, are you crying? Wait, are you crying? And he's like, oh, go, dude. And they're running. And I go, Luke, you love it, man. You love it. And he goes, oh, I love it. I love it. And he's screaming as he's sprinting. He's going, I love it. I love it. And the next thing you know, the whole team starts going, I love it. I love it. Yeah. And literally, like, I could feel goosebumps on the back of my neck just telling you the story, because the whole energy in the room just, and the work ethic and the commitment, and like something changed that day with that group of guys with that work, and tell them they loved it and they love it. You love it hard. That's what you want. You love it hard. You love tough matches. That's what you love. And you go, what? I do? Yeah, I do. I love tough matches. And that switch, and almost anybody can get talked into that for a little bit. And whether they can keep it, and you got to continue to preach that message. But that's kind of like my thing is that you love it hard. You can make digging a ditch more enjoyable if you convince yourself that you love it. And I'm doing it for a reason. I'm getting stronger digging this damn ditch, you know? So that's my I love it.
No, yeah, no. So I have these things. So I don't know if you can see it.
Hey, there it is. There it is. I love it.
So yeah, these we were talking about just like resources earlier, and these are things that you gave me when I was in college. You know, I've got just pages of them, and it's all.
I'm glad somebody kept that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it meant you know, it just immediately, like, you know, we talk about going back and doing different things like that sports psych stuff. It's always from that time, like it was like something that just it sprang true in me, and it's just like you said. There's my dog.
Yeah, it's cute.
He just being able to convince yourself that you love it, and convince yourself that you're capable, and because you're doing it for a reason, and defining that why, right? I think that saying is kind of bastardized now, just because people use it for silliness, but having that, like you said, that I love it because I know what the reason is. I know I'm breaking my neck for a certain point, and just having that and understanding that. But yeah, I use these in my master's program, like to get my final project. It was in there, and just so it
that makes it great.
It's played a major role, and I've kept it going. I've given it. I don't know who else that I've given it to that it's made its way around, but I've given it to a lot of people, and just, you know, because these
teachers
things
affect eternity, man. We affect eternity.
Yeah, and
somebody you gave it to is going to give it to somebody else.
I hope so. I hope so.
Please believe. Well, let's wrap it up. Start thinking about the topic for next week.
Yes.
And don't forget, you can follow me at Brahman on Twitter, and at Creighton Wrestling on Instagram. And Josh, where can we find you?
Yeah, my stuff on Instagram at jno_knows. Same thing on Twitter, and then on Facebook and YouTube, it's Joshua Nolan Wrestling. So all of our
Trying to
stuff.
blow that YouTube up. Blow it
Yes,
up.
you can
Creighton
find
Wrestling.
every single episode of ours is on YouTube. It's going to continue to go on there. It's also
What is this? So this is your shirt.
yes,
I got the shirt on, and the YouTube channel is called what?
it's called Joshua Nolan Wrestling. But so that shirt is our wrestling club here, based out of Reno, Nevada. We're in our infancy, but we're coming, baby. It's gonna be exciting. And if you want to get your hands on a shirt like that, just shoot me a message and we can get that squared away.
Marketing genius. All right, bro. I'll see you next week.
All right, we'll see you, BC.
Talk to you soon.
All right.